Good morning, everyone. Oh, my voice just went all of a sudden scratchy. Um, just getting the show started and it'll be posted in the group soon. This is Gardening Tips, Gardening Tips Live, and I am Amy Hahn. I'm a Knox County Master Gardener, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow Master Gardeners.
and
Lee,
and student.
yeah, student. Well, you're a Master Gardener student. Lee Cheek and Brian Townsend. Lee's joining us from her home, and Brian is at the Dixie Lee Winter Farmers Market. So if you go there this morning, the winter market is actually at the Farragut Community Center, and no one is seeing us yet because I have not shared this in the group yet. So we will get there momentarily. There. I figured out how to find it quickly. So let me go share to group. And please click into video to comment and see resources we post. Yeah, and we'll do a video about that. Okay, so that should be in the Facebook group in a moment. And I will get that pinned to featured so everyone can find it. I've got to refresh my screen. And there it is. And now I can pin it to featured. Pin to featured. And I'm actually going to pin it to the, oh, okay. I'm in the wrong place. Before I go there, I'm going to do at everyone. Folks have asked us to do that. So it makes it easier for them to find this posting and get in and comment and all that good stuff. Because we do enjoy talking to you all on Saturday mornings. Oh. Excuse me. I will try to mute when I do that. My voice is still in the process of coming back. If you were here last week or watched the show, my voice was much worse than it is today.
We're live.
We are live. Yay. Okay, so be sure to, if you're joining us, be sure to comment so that we know you're there because we really don't get any significant notifications that you have joined us. Yeah. And I'm going to do my own good morning. And it is a really nice day to be
up
in
to
the
81.
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just nice and cool.
Think about watering this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the forecast was earlier this week, they were forecasting some rain for today. We could really use it. But it looks like at this point it's down to just cloudy. And so hoping, let me check. I haven't looked at the forecast for tomorrow. I know there was some rain predicted for tomorrow, which I will admit to not being entirely happy about because tomorrow there's an event at Imes Nature Center called Mayapple Market, and they'll have a lot of native plants for sale, but also a lot of really interesting vendors. And hold on a
An 81% chance of rain tomorrow.
I know, and it looks like 7/10 of an inch. So that's a fair bit of rain, but hopefully I will take our canopy that is waterproof.
But there's also going to be thunder developing.
That's not good.
No.
Hopefully there's not too much of it during the actual thing.
Just don't lick the the canopy poles while there's lightning.
If there's lightning, I will be in the building.
Oh,
I will go in the building. And actually, sometimes they've actually put us under the eaves of the building. So I
yeah,
don't know where our table will be.
yeah.
I will find out when we get there. I'm going to take my canopy, and if I don't need it, all the better.
Right. I checked
But
the weather for the National Weather Service
mhm.
earlier this morning, and they had dropped our late afternoon, evening chances of showers until much later at night. I think 2 a.m. or something like that. But
Okay.
as of this morning, they reinstated that very slight chance for late this afternoon. I'm thinking I
Right.
can't remember exactly when that,
And
but it's very slight.
right. And one thing about it is we are in a ridge and valley system in this part of Tennessee. And one side of one ridge can get quite a bit of rain, and the other side of the ridge or the next ridge over gets nothing. And so don't even argue with a neighbor who's half a mile from you whether you got rain or not.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I always encourage people to have a rain gauge on their property
Yes.
so they know how much rain they got on their side of the ridge because it does vary significantly
Yes.
over short distances. And I've also found we have an electronic rain gauge, and the birds make that unreliable at times because they sit on it, they sit on the edge of it and then they do what birds do when they fly away. And so it gets clogged up fairly frequently. Yes, it is a problem. So, yeah, watch your rain. That's especially important as you're going into the growing season because you can have rain predicted. They can predict an inch of rain and it never comes to you, or they can say, rain's pretty unlikely and you actually get some.
Yeah.
So, pay attention to what your situation is.
And
Okay.
and I'll totally between rain and our irrigating our gardens out there, we want to shoot for roughly about 1 inch a week.
Right. And if you look at the statistics, East Tennessee, where we are, averages 1 inch a week. But what's happening more and more, it seems like, is we'll have a week with 3 or 4 inches, and then we'll go several weeks with no rain at all. And the plants just don't know what to do with that.
Well, last July, we got 12 inches of rain over 2 days.
Yeah.
And then it didn't rain for another 2 weeks.
Right. And so the plants really don't know what to do with it.
Tomatoes were unhappy, yes.
Yeah. And, one thing I've found that really helps is to have a good amount of organic matter in your garden beds, particularly for vegetables, because that stores a lot of water, longer.
And provides drainage, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, it is drainage, but it's not exactly because the water is actually being stored in the ground. And so it's being captured on your property. But plants need air and water. And when you have a good amount of organic matter, it's stored in a way that the plants have access to the moisture, but they still have access to to air too.
I found some organic mulches in my bed last night, but I swept it off so I could go to sleep.
Okay. Oh, in that bed. I get it. I'm a little slow. Okay. So let's go ahead and later we're going to talk about, planting your vegetable garden and what to do now, but I'm going to do my usual slideshow. And we've got some things that are looking back at what I did in the fall that's still going. I'm gonna hide my bookmarks just so there's more screen.
I will go to next Wednesday in California.
There we go. That's good.
Yes, you understand it?
Okay, so this is a red kale plant that I planted last fall. And admittedly, it's in a container. I haven't given it water when it needed to, but a lot of the broccoli family plants that were planted last year in the fall are starting to try to flower. And so this is the little flower head, and you can eat that like broccoli. And sometimes it'll help the plant continue with more leaf production. I might have let this one go too far, but I will pop that off and eat it because they are really tasty. Okay, we've talked about parsley before. This is curly parsley, and parsley is a biennial, and it is looking lovely right now. But I am watching it for signs of making a flower stalk. In a little bit, it'll have some pieces that will lengthen out, and it'll be obvious that they're not just leaves. And at that point, I will harvest the whole plant and preserve it, one of two ways by drying it. Because once it goes fully to flower, the leaves don't taste good anymore. But right now, it's lovely. I see a lot of tabbouleh in my future. That's one of the things I make that uses a lot of parsley. And it is a good ingredient in like pestos and sauces and all things like that.
I love it in soup.
Yeah, it's good in soup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my asparagus bed that I let get really weedy. And you can see I had started weeding it, but so far I hadn't found any asparagus, and I was wondering, and I found some asparagus hiding under there. And so I continued weeding it, and it's a little hard to see, but there's quite a few small asparagus. I probably won't get good production out of this year because I didn't fertilize it in the fall and I didn't mulch it. And, so it was competing with the weeds, but I should be able to bring this bed back pretty quickly. I think my husband's happy. He doesn't love asparagus.
Well, then there's more for you.
Right. Yes. And the ones I accidentally broke off while I was weeding, I did eat because fresh asparagus from the garden is very different than store-bought. And this is my garlic, and each of these white markers indicates a different variety, which is one of the things I find so fascinating about growing different garlics. You see how huge this one is? I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see how big and robust the leaves on this one is. And then these are just really smaller. So different varieties of garlic have different growth patterns. Some of them are growing very upright. See, this is a very upright one. That one's really spread out. And so they are very different, the different varieties. And I think it's really interesting. And the heads look different. And they do have slightly different flavors. It's more noticeable. There's two ways it's noticeable. Some of them are really, really sharp raw. And it's really hard to use them when they're raw, even. They're so sharp. But the ones that are really, really sharp raw have really wonderful flavor roasted. And a lot of times the ones that are milder in the raw stage don't have very much flavor when they're roasted. So if you ever get a garlic and it's too sharp for using raw, try roasting it. It'll probably be lovely.
And also, I
Okay.
find that, slicing garlic versus crushing
Mm-hmm.
it is to make it stronger, a stronger flavor.
Yes.
Yes.
The flavor of garlic is about like two chemicals that are in it mixing when you cut it. And so the more you break the cells down and those chemicals mix, the sharper it'll be. So that is right. If you slice it versus chopping it or even crushing it. So it'll be the strongest crushed. Okay, I have a bed where I've got some Egyptian walking onions, and I think I have a critter. Some, that something has dug that hole or that opening. It's really just right under the grass. I suspect it might be a rabbit
Oh,
because I do have quite a few we have quite a few rabbits.
because, I plant, Egyptian walking onions and garlic at the edges of my beds to
Yeah,
discourage most pests.
right,
Um, because they don't like the smell of
right.
those strong smells of.
Yeah. Well, and over here is all grassy area,
Oh,
and
okay.
the onions don't start till like over on this side.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it might be, it's not a place where I can look like from the deck or anything.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to be hard to see what it is.
Could you set up a little GoPro camera?
If I had one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be interesting if I had one, but I don't have one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I am doing, I did start one thing yesterday, and I just weeded out this area next to my little arch trellises. Um, and I know it's late to start peas, but I started some, they're called mammoth melting sugar peas, and I've never grown them before. So I just wanted to see what they're like. I soaked them for a few hours to give them a head start. And these cups are because I know I have some critters. I don't know whether it's moles or not moles, voles or chipmunks or rabbits. I know I've seen all of them out here that will eat brand new seedlings. So I take these quart yogurt containers and I cut the bottoms off. And so they act as barriers. And so I planted my seeds in them into the ground. And so they actually give it a little bit of protection from the pests, from the rodents, so they don't eat the little seed heads off. I think it also confuses the birds because sometimes if birds see a sprout coming up, they will just, grab it and eat it. Or sometimes they'll just pull it up and drop it, which is more infuriating. So I'll keep you posted. But this is actually how I plant my cucumbers also. And quite a few things that I direct so I'll do with these containers with the bottoms cut off. And it just helps them get a good start. Okay, pear tree has been blooming and it's making little baby pears. I would rather it not do this so early because we are not past our frost date. If we have a mild frost, it's okay, but if we have some hard frosts, I'm pretty likely to lose a lot of this crop. And
That's
so that is one
that's
of the,
always an issue in Tennessee.
right. And that has to do with fruit trees have to go through a certain number of chill hours before they'll bloom in a warm spell. And here in chill hours accumulate between like 45 and 32 degrees, and we have a lot of time in that range. Oh, Mary, she's having trouble getting the live video to play. I'm sorry, so you're probably not seeing us. Um, I don't know why it's not playing, and hopefully you can watch it after. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna put it in the comments so she can see it. Um, so you having problems? Um, likely Facebook or connection issues. Hopefully you can watch it later. Yeah, because Mary regularly watches us. Okay. Okay. Fruit trees accumulate chill hours. And in East Tennessee here, we have 1,300 or more chill hours. And so fruit trees often bloom before our last frost. And so we will have years where just about all the fruit trees have bloomed, started to set their fruit, and then we have a hard freeze. And so you'll have gap years, which is not fun. And there's really not a ton you can do about preventing it. Sometimes it'll just go cold enough to kill. Like you can see how many fruit this has set here. It looks like it's setting here. It is setting way more fruit than I would want to develop on this branch. And so if we have a freeze that kills 50% of the buds, I am fine. Even if it kills 90% of the buds, I'm good. So, if we have some freeze, then that's fine, but just don't want it to be hard enough to kill all of them. And so you will find there we have years without pears and apples. I've just noticed my plum tree has just started to bloom. And so it's a little later, but that is something that happens here. Okay, this is another thing that happened this year that doesn't happen all years. These are my daffodils in the backyard. And if you look, and I saw quite a few people commenting on this happening to them. Now, where's my zoom in? There's my zoom in button. Okay, you can see some of these look like they didn't even fully open. I don't think that one fully opened. So some of them look like they didn't even fully open. And I was away for a week or so. And before I left, these had started to open up, and all of them were in the bud stage where the color is showing. And that's a real vulnerable to freeze stage. So I think we had a freeze at my house, and it killed these developing daffodils. Now I have some that bloom later that were in a more sheltered spot, and this is what they look like today. So variety and location matter. It doesn't always happen that way where they get frozen. But if yours look like that first picture, that is likely what happened. That they were getting ready to open and they got frozen. And then these are just later daffodils, but they are in a more sheltered spot. And my Lenten rose really is really showing off this year. I think this is the most flowers I've had on it. But my hydrangea might be dead. So different plants, even in the same location, what it can be affected differently. Okay, this is my lilac. It's starting to bloom. And with it, I'm going to say, a lot of people are thinking about getting out in the garden, maybe doing some pruning and stuff like that. With things that bloom in the spring, you want to wait to prune until after they're done flowering. So, the lilac, But you can also see there's a lot of wood visible, which is not normal for this lilac. I looked at it a little more, and it's a little hard to see, but there's holes in the trunk. You see those? So I need to investigate more and see what's going on. Now I can tell this is new growth from the lilac. So what I might end up doing after it blooms is I might end up cutting it back really hard and letting the plant restart. That is an option. But I'm going to try to figure out what this is, what made these holes. Because that'll help me know what to do. But the holes really don't look good. And I think they're related to why it hasn't leafed out well. I was having some health issues last year, and so really wouldn't have noticed last year what was going on. But you can see there's not much foliage here. This should all be leafed out, and it's not. So there's something going on with this shrub. There's two of them, and they're doing similar things. Okay, this is a nice native plant. And there's Brian's belly. But you guys probably can't see that because he's not talking. Nice native plant. This is Virginia bluebells. And one interesting thing about that is it opens pink, but as the flowers open and mature, they turn, they go to purple. So you end up the new buds being pink and purple, and it's really pretty plant. And it is a native. One issue that's going on with this one is these straight upright stems you can see here. That is some Japanese honeysuckle that has gotten underneath it. And I tried to pull it out, and it's apparently intertwined with the roots. So I'm going to be looking up when is the best time to dig and divide your Virginia bluebells. It will probably be after they're done blooming, a while after. One thing about them is as you go into the summer, the foliage actually dies completely to the ground. So they're one of what's called our spring ephemerals. They come up in the spring, they do their thing, and then they essentially disappear. And so I need to do what I'm going to do with them while I can see them. Okay, this is another nice native coral honeysuckle. Hummingbirds love it. It is a pretty large, pretty aggressive vine, but it is beautiful. And butterflies love it also. Oh, and this is Lee's vegetables.
Yes, yes. This is my cool season vegetable bed. And I have a couple of different types of radishes growing there. And I color code them with a little knives. And so that's on the left. We got a row of radishes, crimson red.
Okay.
And
Now, are you going to thin those a bit? Or?
yeah, I've
Okay.
been thinning them a little bit as we go. Yep. And then I've got Cook's custom blend of the red knife.
The red knife there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's called a Cook's custom blend. And then I have the green stuff. They're very, very small, but it was an old packet of mustard giant red. And there's just a couple of them. But anyway, and then I have my lettuce, a gourmet blend, and then I have some kale. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Brenda, glad you've been able to join us. I'm not sure what she asked, does it stay green all summer? And I'm not sure
if
you're asking about staying green all summer.
Right. She could have
if
been
you could put in the
flowers.
comments what it is, we'll answer that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's your next slide.
Yeah, yeah. So I have red Russian kale and some mustard greens.
Oh, I see a little kale
Uh-huh.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And some garnet mustard greens. That's the little red stuff in there
Okay.
next to the blue knife. And
Right
then
there.
uh, it was an old packet of romaine lettuce that I don't think is going to come up.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, lettuce doesn't always, the seed doesn't always last real long.
right, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I have some parsley
Oh,
and,
nice.
and some cilantro. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the
So the
cilantro
cilantro
coming.
was pretty old packet too. So it may not
Yeah.
come up. Yeah. Yeah.
But then that'll give your parsley room.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what you see is I've got some rocks around the edge.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to show the container that I put over the top because I started these in February
Yeah.
to cover it when it would get cold, too cold at
Mhm.
night, even though these are cool season vegetables,
Oh, cool.
But now
Oh, she was
it's nice.
asking about Virginia bluebells.
Oh, okay.
No, once the weather gets hot, the Virginia bluebells, the foliage dies to the ground.
Yeah, that's why they're ephemerals. Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes it so I will probably need to dig them before that happens so that I know what I'm digging,
Yeah.
know where to dig.
Or put a flag or something.
Yeah,
Or a colored knife.
yeah. Well, one of the problems is there's so much other root stuff
Yeah.
going on. I'm probably going to need some leaves to know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, true.
Oh,
Okay. So
a little
so
mater.
so now they're putting out at the big box stores tomatoes and peppers, and it's not time to plant them. But
Absolutely.
in picking one, sometimes there's a variety I like. Like I really love Juliet's. And so picking that variety, to pick a good variety, you want some good, healthy roots. And so this is showing the nice, really nice, good white roots. And then you need to sort of pick those apart. And then you can see just above the plant, there's a big pot that I'm going to transplant it into. Um, and I'm going to put it out in the garden while we're having these pretty days, but then take it back inside when it dips down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. I was listening to a gardening podcast and they were talking about it. I think it was, there's one I listened to called The Way to Garden with Margaret Roach, is a really nice podcast. And she was talking about the frost dates and how to know what your frost dates are for your area. And she talked about this organization, and it's the National Gardening Association. And I'm going to put, I'm going to go back a page. So if you go to them, and I'm going to put this in the comments. So this is their page to get your frost dates. And so you put in your zip code. And so I put in mine, and it tells you what your frost dates are. They also go into a fair bit of explanation of what they mean, which can be really helpful. So the frost dates from where I am. So there's a 10% chance of our last 32-degree cold, of it being that cold. So there's a 10% chance is April 25th. The last day at 36 is May 3rd. And this is, a 10% chance that it'll be colder.
2 years ago, we had a freeze on
Yes.
the 29th of April.
Yeah. And a couple years ago, I had a freeze on May 9th, which is really unusual, but it happens.
Yes.
And the one other thing to know is tomatoes don't like temperatures under 45 degrees. And so that's going to be a couple
Really?
weeks after this date.
Yeah. And what they
And
really love is they love ground temperatures in the 50s.
right.
your nights in the 50s. That's what they like.
Yeah, at least 50s.
At least 50s.
And they like growing temperatures like 70 to 80 degrees is what they
Oh,
absolutely love.
yeah.
Growing temperature, to
And
be growing.
they don't mind 90 either.
Yeah, but sometimes they won't set fruit at 90.
Yeah.
So, but that, 70 to like 85 degrees, tomatoes love it. And so that's important to know. So
Gonna be 80.
also the other thing to know is big box stores don't mind selling you a whole nother set of vegetables.
No, they don't.
Nope. And so this will help you if you go here. So like for tomatoes and peppers, you figure a couple weeks after this date, the one that's the last 32 degrees. And look at your forecast. Look at the 10-day forecast. On April 25th, look at your 10-day forecast and see what it's saying. And if there's no temperatures predicted to be under 45, at that point, I wait another week. Because you're not going to have that May 9th date in there. If you look at it at the 25th. So I'm going to wait another week or two and make sure there's no temperatures under 45. For peppers, it's no temperatures under 50. Because peppers seem to get set back. They don't die, but if you plant them when it's too cool, they just don't grow well. And so they get set back and they sort of sulk for quite a while and don't grow. And yes, I am personifying. The other thing I wanted to show on this website is if you go down here, and this is a little further, you can get garden planting calendar for your area. But you have to be careful when you look at planting calendars because some of them are not 100% accurate. Okay, so this one, give me a second. Okay, so this one, I'm okay with this, but beans are very frost sensitive, and you can see the recommended date here for sowing your seeds in the garden. They say start at April 19th. You still have a fair chance of frost at that point. Now, I might actually do it because bean seed is inexpensive. If I plant out 20 bean seeds, and you buy a packet and it's probably 50 to 100 bean seeds for $3, let's say, that is not very much money you're risking. But if you but I wouldn't put my tomato plants out then because they cost a lot more or you've invested a lot more time and energy into them. So, that's a little bit questionable to me. The dates on the cabbage family plants are fine. I would never plant cantaloupe this early. It is frost tender. And so I really am not seeing good recommendations on this calendar for things that aren't the cabbage family crops. Cabbage family crops, they're fine, but their other recommendations are too early. Another one that I saw here is, the onions are fine for starting transplants. You can start peppers this early. I would never plant them out that early. It's going to be too cold still. And peppers grow pretty slowly, but they recommend the same date for tomatoes. And I want my tomatoes to be about 5 weeks old when I plant them out the second week of May. So if you count back from the second week of May, you're looking at the beginning of April, beginning to mid-April for starting your tomatoes. Actually, I'm going to be starting my tomatoes probably in the next week or so. So that'll be the beginning of April. But I don't have enough lights to put them under. So a better guide is this is put out by UT Extension, and it's the Tennessee Home Vegetable Planning and Vegetable Garden Planning, Plant and Preparation and Planting. So it goes into all the information you need to select what crops. It gives you some, the frost dates, and they're similar to the ones that are on the other calendar. That's only 3 days different. Because that is they say it's the 10% chance of temperatures colder than 32. So that's pretty close. And so this one tells you which crops are best done as transplants and which ones are best done as from seed. In recent years, I have seen nearly every one of these vegetables available as a transplant. Carrots do not transplant well at all. You end up with really funny looking carrots if they make it. But I have seen carrots, I've seen corn sold as transplants, and that's doing a disservice to the customer who's buying those. The other one I oftentimes see, I'll see cucumbers and squash. And as we go down, you'll see why I would prefer you not to buy cucumbers and squash as transplants. Some of it's because, okay, so here's the directions for growing out transplants and how many weeks you want to grow them before you plant them in the ground. So cucumbers, if you start them as transplants, you want them to grow for 2 to 3 weeks as transplant, in the small container for cucumbers and squash. The ones in the garden center are not that young. I've never seen ones that look that at that stage, they'll have 1, maybe 2 leaves and really no vine. And so if you're going to do cucumbers and squash, purchase a package of seed and you will likely have much better success. Okay, and as you go down further, there's some, description of problems you can have. And here's the powerhouse of this publication. And it is this chart that gives you your spring planting dates, fall planting dates, whether you're doing seeds or plants. And if you're looking at something that's grown out as a transplant, you're going to take this date and you're going to back it up by the number of weeks to start that from seed. So this is a really good publication to read. Oh, you found it. Good. So I really like this one. Now, something that's a little bit simpler to look at is, let's see, where is it? Beardsley Farm put together this chart a couple of years ago, and it doesn't really tell you whether you're doing transplants or direct seeding, but it just gives you a general idea of, that would be your transplant planting dates for the things that you sow as transplants. But they don't break it down here. But it does give you an idea of when you need to think about things and when they'll be in your garden beds. And so let me put this.
I just added it to the comments.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a different publication, isn't it? Because this is a list of from UT that
It's the same link that you have there. But anyway.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't know you'd found that one. And so as you go down in this, it has the links to the home fruit and vegetable calendar, a whole series on growing tomatoes. So a lot of other information in this one that'll be helpful to you. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because I don't think I have anything else right now. And now you find the right button. And what is it? I know last week Brian said another couple weeks before you should prune roses. What is it? You're probably starting to mow your lawn unless you have all Bermuda, because Bermuda hasn't come out yet. Hasn't turned green yet. It's still blonde. At least that's what they called it in Memphis. But if you have any questions for us, please put them in the comments. Tomorrow I will be at Mayapple Market at Imes Nature Center. And so that is a fun event, and hopefully it won't be raining significantly. But it is a rain or shine event. Let's see. There we go. And they say there will be some food trucks there and some other information about it. I've been there before. It is really nice. And Imes Nature Center is a wonderful place to explore. They do currently charge a small parking fee. So if you're going, be aware of them. Okay, I pruned knockout roses last week and unfortunately had to mow because all your neighbors are, well, I mean, if there's stuff to mow, you should mow. I think, a week earlier is not going to be huge, particularly for knockout roses. Those are generally really robust and they grow a lot.
And I know, Amy, you have a bee lawn, as I do also.
Yes. And they are supposed to come and mow our bee lawn today because it is getting a bit high and my husband likes it to be less high. Probably if it were up to me, I would have a meadow out there, but you have to make compromises.
Especially with spouses, yeah.
Yes, spouses are important. I want him to be happy, and he's not very happy with some areas of our
wilderness
outdoor space right now. I've had some health issues the past couple years and just have not been able to keep up with it. Oh, that's beautiful. Someone put a picture of a really pretty pink flower. And I don't know what it is. And then, so I'm looking at the group feed a little bit. And so you'll be able, if you go to look at the Knoxville Area Gardening Tips group feed, you'll be able to find some more pictures of bluebells and see that color change that's going on. And let's see, does anyone know when UT Ag Department is having their starter plant sale? I know UT Gardens plant.
It has their next weekend.
Next weekend?
It is their plant sale.
Oh, that's UT Gardens.
Uh-huh.
But I think UT Ag does their own sort of plant start sale, and that's different, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
And someone's saying they think it's April 25th, 26th. And then someone else says it's April 5th. So if it is the same as the UT Gardens plant sale, then it's April 5th. But if it's something different, if it's a different thing, it might be a different date. So I'm not sure. if you go to the UT Gardens website, and let me figure out the easiest way that I can get there, because it's a little bit hard to find the right website. I'm actually going to our sign up for helping at the plant sale, because I know I have that link there. The Knox County Master Gardeners always help with the plant sale, but this year we're going to have a plant clinic table at the sale. So if people have questions, we will be there to help you. Let's see. So here we go. Here's the, I'm going to put the link in the thing and hopefully it'll show what it is. Oh yeah, because it says special events plant sale. So I think that's enough to help you know what it is. If you go there, there's actually a list of the plant inventory. And I didn't see much in the vegetable category. I'll go ahead and share my screen as we look at, look at that. Can't even see it. It's too tiny. Let's zoom in. Okay, so there's some cypress. So this is all woody stuff on this page. And then some, oh gosh, Deutzia, what, is there a common name? And some hydrangeas of assorted types. Let me zoom in a little more because I'm still having trouble reading that. There we go, now we can read it. Okay, holly, Florida anise tree, that sounds interesting. Beauty bush, elderberry box. I'm looking to see if there's any vegetables. So there's perennials, many assorted ones. Oh, marshmallow, that's nice stuff. Bee balms, just a really nice assortment of stuff. Okay, annuals. Not seeing vegetables yet, but they might. Oh, leeks, kale, cabbage, more cabbage, cauliflower, kohlrabi. So they are having quite a few vegetables. Just one kind of pepper. If you're Italian, they have Italian dandelions. Several different lettuces. Oh, a bunch of tomatoes. An eggplant, dill, tarragon, Roman chamomile, cilantro. So there's a nice assortment of stuff. Ooh, roselle hibiscus. That's what they make red zinger tea out of. And then chamomile, which is a really nice tea herb. Some basils. Just a nice assortment of stuff. And then some different vines. And then some figs. Prunus, easy as pie. And then, oh, what is rubus? Is that berries? You'd have to look up the name of that variety. And then the vaccinium, that's blueberries. So they have a nice selection of stuff at the plant sale this year. There's a lot of plant sales coming up. There's also, what is the other event that's coming up? Let me stop sharing. There's another event coming up this coming week, and it is, okay, so we got Mayapple Market. Oh, on April 5th also is Tree Fest with Knox Trees. And so that's a really nice event. That's their first one. They're planning on making it an annual event. And so I'm going to put the information about it in the chat. They will be doing a tree planting at, what is the park called? Did I not hit enter? You got to hit enter before it posts. Hibiscus, any tips when planting? She's got 3. Okay, one of the things with hibiscus is there's the tropical hibiscus, which are the ones that are used for the zinger tea, and they're smaller flowers. And then there's the dinner plate hibiscus that have huge flowers, and those are actually, many of those are actually hardy here. You can plant them outside. So one of the things would be to know what kind of hibiscus you have. If you have the kind that's hardy here, you want to plant it where it's well-drained soil, moderate fertility, and good sun exposure. They can take a lot of sun. So that would be the thing. I would also make sure and harden it off before you plant it outside. And you can start, if it's one of the hardy ones, you could start now by taking it out when the temperature's, above like 40 degrees, and start with just taking it out for an hour or two and then bringing it in. And then, I don't know why it says Knoxville Jazz Festival on that. Last thing I posted, but that is apparently there. This should say Tree Fest. That is odd. Let me,
I found a link for you that I posted in for the Tree Fest
okay.
about the Knox Jazz.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to delete that one.
Okay.
Okay, so that won't be confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, because that link you posted is the one I've got showing up here. I don't know why it did to Jazz Fest. Okay, so back to the hibiscus. So they're hardy ones. Get them hardened off by exposing them to outdoors, adding a little bit every day. Okay. And and then plant them. If they're the tropical ones, I would keep them in a container so you can bring them in over the winter. The tropical ones usually have, oh gosh, one of them has shining leaves and one of them doesn't. Lee, do you know which is which?
Hibiscus girl. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to do a Google of it.
Hibiscus, tropical versus hardy. Okay. And then the strawberries are Roswell. Okay. Do you mean, when you say cuttings, do you mean they were the runners that came out, and have a little bit of root to them? Because you probably want to transition those into soil pretty quickly. Okay, so they are the runners. Yeah, you want to put the runners in soil, and they could actually go out now, but you still have to, if they've been inside, you do need to harden them off. That means exposing them gradually to outdoor conditions. Strawberries should
2
do
hours a
fine.
day until you get up to 4 hours a day.
Right. Yeah. Okay. If they're outside, um, and they're still in water, I would transition them to soil. And just when you plant them in the soil, just make sure you keep them well watered, but not sopping wet those first few days as they transition. The roots have to transition. The kind of root hairs they make for being in water is a little bit different than what they make for being in soil. So they do need to have a transition there. So I would keep them in a shady spot. Yes. What was the tea? Oh, it's time. Time. It's 10 o'clock. Okay.
The University of Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I was looking up the football
Are y'all
schedule.
are y'all talking about herbs or you said there's time?
No, it's time. It's time for us to
Lemon or what?
English time.
Oh, English.
English time or
Oh,
French
oh,
time.
I
Oh, I'm
flunked
actually
English.
putting up a link to an article about hardy versus tropical hibiscus. So hopefully that'll help you. There are some ads on it, which I wish I could get rid of, but you want to keep the tropical in a container that can be brought in if you want to keep it year after year, but the hardy can be planted outside in a well-drained area. And there are some beautiful hardy hibiscus. If you've gone to UT Gardens recently, they have a big field where they've been doing hibiscus trials of the hardy hibiscus. And every so often, the person running the trials will go through and he'll be like, yeah, we want to keep that one. That one's no good. You can hear him talking about them. And it's really interesting. But it is 10 o'clock and what is after 10. And so it is time for us to wrap this up. We will be making some changes in how the archives of Gardening Tips Live is done. We're having to transition those over to YouTube because Facebook has let us know they're only going to keep the live videos for 30 days. We're going to try to capture at least some of our previous videos. I captured our first one in 2020. And so if you go to the Knox County Master Gardeners YouTube page and look at the playlist called Gardening Tips Live, I think I called it Highlights. You can find that one in there from April of 2020. And it is horrible, but it's a good memory. Let's see. Oh, you don't have to have a membership to watch stuff on YouTube. Anyone can go and watch it. So if you just go to YouTube and go to the Knox County Master Gardener YouTube page, actually I can show you that. Let me share my screen. Where is it? Okay. So you go to YouTube, you look up Knox County Master Gardeners, Knox Master Gardeners, there we are. Knox County Master Gardeners. Okay, and then you will find our page here. There's our channel. Oh, and there is Caesar Stair, one of our former presidents, doing sort of an introduction. And if you go to playlists, there is a playlist called Gardening Tips Live Highlights. And right now there's 2 videos in there.
Morning.
So this first one we ever did. And it is very
5
crazy
years
and
ago.
confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. From April 25th of 2020. And we were trying to figure out how do we help gardeners when we can't be there in person. And so that is definitely a memory. And so if you want to go and see how confusing and a little crazy that was, you can do that and see what some of I'll be posting a few other shows, and I probably won't be able to add all the comments, that have all the links to resources, because I really can't figure out how to download those from the YouTube listing. But at least, you'll get to see some of the history of the group. And that'll be sort of fun for everyone. We definitely will not be capturing all of the previous videos. Just don't have the time and energy to do it. Well, happy gardening, everyone, and hope you have a good day. Looks like a beautiful day to be outside in your yard. And we'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.